What's up guys, this video I'm going to break down conversation topics that lead to sex and techniques you can specifically use when you're having a conversation with a girl to make things more sexual. So before we get into the specifics, I think it's important to understand the mindset that comes with sexualizing in general. So I think a lot of guys are worried that like, oh, if I make things sexual, the girl's gonna think I'm creepy, right? And that can't happen if you go from 0 to 60, really fast. So the correct way to sexualize is to be very smooth and progressive, right? So you're not going from 0 to 100, you're going from 0 to 5 to 10 to 15 to 20. It's very smooth and calibrated, right? And you're kind of testing the waters each step of the way. This is why when I sexualize, like if you guys watch my speed dates, I've never gotten a bad reaction again, because I'm not going from like, hey, so what do you like to do for fun? Cool. You want to suck my dick? Right? Of course that is going to creep girls out. If you're approaching in a very smooth, progressive way, then that is the way to do it. And I think it's important not to be afraid to sexualize, because if you want to have sex with a girl, you're going to have to sexualize. You can't just keep kicking the can down the road and hope that the girl is just going to magically jump on your dick, right? Because again, if you just never sexualize, then the girl's going to have a platonic vibe from you and she's not going to go home with you. I think the second important thing to understand is that verbal sexualization is just only one way of sexualizing. So there's a lot more to it than just the words that come out of your mouth. There's your body language, there's your touch, like where you're touching the girl, right? There's all these things. There's also the location, right? So just by taking the girl and moving her from, let's just say, a bar to your romantic balcony, you're already adding some sexualization to the, dynamic. Then if you stand closer to her with proximity, maybe you put your hands on her waist, right? That's already sexualizing, and that doesn't involve you saying anything, right? But again, verbal sexualization is important to understand. Now, the big thing that I want to stress is that you can literally make anything sexual, right? There's not like a magical topic that's like, oh, this is the stuff that's sexual. You can make anything sexual. Now, a method that I like to use is sexual innuendos. So that involves things like that's what she said, jokes and stuff like that. If you guys watch my speed dates, I do this all the time, right? The girl will say something and I'll be like, huh. Right? So an example of this, a girl might be like, yeah, it was really hard getting here. And I'll just like hold the tension for a little bit, be like, that's what she said, right? And stuff like that. Girl will be like, oh, stop it, right? But humor is a really good way of sexualizing without coming off as creepy, right? So in the early stages when I'm sexualizing, I'm almost always using humor. Now when we get to like, the stage where like, things are getting really, really sexual, then I'll probably tone down the humor and be a little bit more serious and intense. But in the early stages, I'm heavily relying on humor. And I think you should as well. Now, another technique that I like to use is purposeful misinterpretation. So that means when a girl says something and I purposely misinterpret what she's saying to make it more sexual. So again, I do this all the time if you watch my speed dates. So a girl might say something like, oh yeah, I think that's really hard when you have to blah, blah. I'll be like, wait, why are you talking about hard things? We just met, like, relax, right? Again, I'm purposely misinterpreting what she's saying in order to make the situation more sexual. This is a technique I like to use all the time. The third one that I like to do is future projection, right? So that's basically when you're projecting the two of you doing something in the future. Now, I usually start off pretty mellow. I'm not gonna future project and say, yeah, when I'm fucking the shit out of you doggy style, you're gonna be feeling, really good, right? Like that's really extreme. So I might start off with something like, yeah, I think when we go on our honeymoon, we can hit up, how does 2 weeks in south of France sound to you? Something like that, right? That's future projection. The girl will be like, oh, pretty good. I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna get the very romantic suite with the optional sex swing, right? Like last time, right? So I'm amping it up a notch. She's gonna be like, haha, yeah. I'd be like, yeah, but you said you also want the mirrors everywhere, right? Because I think a complaint you had last time is you want to see me a little bit more, right? So again, I'm using humor, I'm amping it up a notch, right? Now, if as when I say one of those things, the girl really pulls back, right? Then I'm gonna, slow down the sexualization, kind of go sideways and then try again later, right? But again, if you're going from 0 to 100, yeah, you're gonna get those really weird reactions. But if you're moving very smooth and progressively, that's not gonna happen. So those are some techniques I like to do. Now, in terms of specific conversation topics, I think it's good to stay away from very generic things like, oh, what do you do for work? Or what do you like to do for fun, right? Like that stuff is just, again, you can sexualize anything. You can even make her job sexual, right? But you're gonna have a harder time doing that. So question I like to ask, which I think makes sexualizing very easy, is what kind of guys are you into? Right? And this is a question that gets the girl to think a little bit. So she might be like, oh, you know, I'm into, you know, like tall white guys. I'll be like, oh, you're just describing me right now. And the girl will be like, oh, yeah, haha, blah, blah, blah. I'll be like, and so you said tall, hung white guys, right? So again, I'm purposely adding things to the stretch. Like, no, I didn't say hung. I'll be like, oh, okay, so you like guys with right? Again, this is a little bit, you know, this would happen later on in the conversation, right? But again, I'm making things more sexual. So that's one I like to do. Another one I like to talk about is ethnicity, right? So I might ask the girl now, like if she looks like an extremely basic white girl, I probably won't ask this question, but I live in Miami where a lot of girls are Latin. So I'd be like, oh, cool. Where are you from originally? She'd be like, oh, I'm from Colombia. I'd be like, oh, cool. I love Colombian girls. She'd be like, oh, really? What do you like about Colombian girls? I'd be like, I don't know. They're just so passionate. I should be like, oh yeah, we are passionate. Like, I'm like, yeah, passionate in every way. Like, you guys are so passionate, like in your life, and then you're so passionate in the bedroom. Like, I just love that combination, right? So again, I'm slowly adding things to it. The girl will be like, oh yeah, you've been with a few Colombian girls. I'll be like, no, I'm actually a virgin, right? So leads me to the last thing that I like to do, which is playing dumb. So as I'm escalating, at some point I start playing dumb. So, you know, the girl will be like, oh yeah, you've been with a lot of Colombian girls. I'll be like, well, actually, no, I'm actually a virgin. You know, I'm saving myself for Jesus, right? You know, I'll do this all the time, or the girl will say something, and I'll be like, wait, like BDSM, what is that? Can you tell me about that? The girl will be like, come on, you know what it is. I'll be like, no, I've never heard of BDSM. And she'll start explaining it to me, so then she's like the one that's sexually escalating the conversation. I'll be like, wait, you're saying there's people out there that like to be handcuffed and like, wait, there's girls out there who like to be bent over, have their bottoms slapped, and like be choked and have their hair pulled? This is crazy to me. I've never heard this before. Like, can you tell me more about this, right? Again, the girl knows I'm playing dumb, but it's a little bit of a role play that I'm doing, which leads me to the last thing, which is role plays. Role plays are really, really good. So you can do any number of role plays. Like you can play, you know, like the married couple role play. You can play, you know, a fighting couple role play. But again, it's a very good way of combining humor, being playful, and also sexually escalating the situation. Right? So I think that's a very important thing to do. So when you combine all these things, you have a very powerful concoction of sexualization. All right, hopefully you guys found this video valuable. And the last thing that I want to add, quite often it's not what you say, but how you say it, right? Your tonality, your timing actually makes a huge difference. So if you're saying something sexual and you say it really, really fast, right? That's going to take the punch away. But if you say it in a very slow and seductive manner, that's going to have more of an impact. So pay attention not only to the stuff you say, but how you say it. I think actually how you say things is more important than what you say. Anyway, show some love by smashing the like button, hit subscribe, click the bell for notification. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time.